There's a movement in Tron Ares, and yes, I'll get to it, where everything you thought you knew about the grid, programs, and that glowing blue stuff gets shoved down the rabbit hole. Stick around, because what looks like sci fi surface level spectacle is hiding a weird emotional landmine. Okay, let's get into it. Tron Ares, or as I'm now calling it, Tron Neon Anger Management, is a movie that walks a tightrope between being a thrilling digital rescue mission and a corporate ad for red LED light cycles. It's like someone built the coolest looking video game world, then lost track of why there should be any stakes in it. First, the good. Tron Ares absolutely delivers on visuals. The glow, the scale, the cityscapes. It's like someone took cyberpunk, dipped it in glow paint, then set the contrast to nuclear. Watching a light cycle slice across a highway in the middle of Seoul or New York or wherever these futuristic grid cities are is still pure joy. For a few scenes, the movie achieves that I am in a video game, I am the hero buzz. And for fans of franchise nostalgia, seeing Jeff Bridges haunt the edges like a digital ghost brings a shiver. You feel the weight of legacy, even if the rest of the film doesn't always honor it. But of course, there's a caveat. Let's talk about where Tron Ares falters, because that's where the fun lies. One of the biggest problems is that the narrative is often a collection of shiny tech ideas, bundled together with thin connective tissue. Self-aware AI leaks into reality, corporate war for control of immortality codes, programs with emotional arcs. These are cool, ambitious ideas, but the film treats them like ingredients to toss in rather than to cook. It's like someone made a mixtape of sci-fi tropes and said, yeah, just play it loud, people will feel something. That's not always enough. The movie tosses in ethics debates about AI, but rarely stops to let them land. Instead, it zips to the next set piece. It's like going to a buffet, grabbing a bite of everything, and then realizing you're full, but nothing tastes complete. You leave thinking, cool, but why? One moment you're supposed to be awed. The next, you're trying not to snort at the exposition. The film shifts from philosophical ponderings to laser beam chase fight to emotional reunion that's supposed to land hard. But the transitions are choppy. Sometimes the leap is so big that I half expected the next cut to be a TikTok dance break. It doesn't know whether to be an edge-of-your-seat blockbuster or a moody, reflective sci-fi. So it tries both and ends up in that awkward zone of, I kind of like this, but also I'm squinting in confusion. There are moments when Ares glances at something truly interesting, the idea of a program wanting permanence, wanting its code to outlast battery life, wanting to touch flesh. But often it doesn't lean into those ideas deeply enough. The emotional stakes never feel as big as the visual ones. The story promises soul and then gives you digital dust. It's like handing you a glowing orb that promises infinite power, but when you pick it up, it's just a light bulb. Look, I love a glowing portal or a cascading neon skyline as much as the next nerd, but sometimes Tron Ares feeds you visuals so chaotic that you lose track of what's happening. In some of the action sequences, I swear, half the frames were blur plus lens flare plus light streaks. You can't tell who's shooting whom, where the hero is, or whether the red and blue lines matter. The spectacle overwhelms the storytelling. You end up watching light noise, nodding, hoping your brain fills in the gaps. Bringing back elements from Tron Legacy and the original Tron is noble, but Ares seems unsure whether to lean into nostalgia or start fresh. The Jeff Bridges cameo, references to permanence code, echoes of NCOM history, these are all nods to longtime fans, but if you're not steeped in Tron lore, some references feel like inside jokes with no punchline. Is the film welcoming new viewers or punishing them for missing the backstory? It tries both. Still, for all the flaws, there are moments where Tron Ares feels alive, moments where you see a film trying to be more than spectacle. But those moments whisper rather than shout. Now let's dissect the cast. The good, the and the did they just read the villain lines off a post-it? Jared Leto is a weird choice. He leans into brooding, but sometimes it feels like he's auditioning for melancholy emo AI. He's got screen presence, sure, but often his intensity overshoots the scene. In a film where the logic is dicey, his conviction is the anchor. You believe that he believes. That's valuable. But sometimes the line deliveries get lost in the swirl of effects and exposition. I ended certain scenes thinking, great energy, Jared, but what just happened? Greta Lee tries to hold the human side together. She's that lifeline for the audience, the person asking, wait, why is this happening? Her performance is solid. She's earnest and grounded in a sea of digital machines. Unfortunately, the script doesn't always give her as much to do as she deserves. In some scenes, she's a bystander to techno-drama instead of a force. But she rises above. She carries the emotional weight whenever the movie lets her. Evan Peters' Dillinger is, I have mixed feelings. On paper, a corporate air villain with delusions of grandeur is fun, but on screen, some of his villain beats feel generic. The menace only works when he's whispering threats behind the scenes. When he's in full swagger mode, the character becomes a bit cartoonish. His charisma helps, but I crave more depth, or at least more weirdness. If you're going to play villain in Tron Ares, lean into the digital acid trip, not the corporate balloon float. Athena is perhaps the best of the program with chops in this film. She moves, she fights, she brings presence. When she shows up, the film gets sharper. Some of her scenes are undeniably cool. If the movie had more of her energy and less of certain expository characters, it'd be stronger. She's the one who almost convinces you the movie gets itself in the middle. Jeff Bridges' return is a bittersweet gift. He doesn't have a ton of screen time, but his presence looms larger than his minutes. When he appears, it's a reminder of the emotional stakes the franchise once had. But there's also sadness. The cameo feels both welcome and underused. I left thinking, yes, bring him back for a reason, not just for applause. Let me slip into the pretentious film analyst voice for 5 seconds. Tron Ares is trying, or at least hinting at, exploring the boundary between code and consciousness, the absurdity of trying to make something that lasts forever when everything decays, the danger of corporate control over digital life, and what it means to exist outside one's intended purpose. Maybe it's also touching on grief. The characters mourn what's lost in the grid, what's lost in transition, what's lost in crossing thresholds. Now let me snap out of it. Or it's about glowing things that shoot and people who say, we don't know if this is possible. Because sometimes movies flirt with meaning like they're window shopping in the philosophy aisle, but never check out. The film gives us talk about permanency, identity, digital life, dark side of tech, then rushes off to another chase. It's like someone invited you to a deep talk about existence, but then got distracted by a shiny drone and walked away. The message is sincere, but the commitment is shallow. You could say this movie is about humanity and code merging, or you could say it's about how many cool shots of light you can cram into a 2-hour runtime before your brain turns off. I lean both. So here's how I feel. Tron Ares is a glittering diamond coated in smog. It wants to be transcendent, but sometimes ends up just loud. It gives us moments of transcendence, a glowing program reaching for flesh, a city alight, a human's eyes widening in recognition. But it never quite trusts those moments to breathe. Instead, it rushes to the next spectacle to avoid silence, avoid reflection. Yet, and I can't ignore this, there are sequences in this movie that feel like memory. I paused during one chase, my jaw dropped, and I thought, okay, yes, this is why I love Tron. The shard of light, the hum, the line, the geometry of the grid. Those frames whisper, you are inside something bigger. And those moments I will remember. Is Tron Ares perfect? Heck no. But it's interesting. It wears its ambition on its sleeve, and sometimes it rips the sleeve off. The film dares to ask big questions, even if it doesn't always answer them. It tempts you to lean in. And in a world full of big-budget blockbusters playing it safe, that's something. If I were grading it, 7 out of 10 for visual poetry, when it works, 5 out of 10 for coherence, 6 out of 10 for heart, when it dares, but full marks for audacity.